First introduced in 1990, the Ford Explorer quickly became a sales success and evolved into America's all-time best-selling SUV. For its 30th year in production, Ford launched the 6th generation model to replace the aging 8-year-old 5th gen SUV with a more capable, comfortable, sportier, and roomy vehicle. Is the new Explorer a massive departure from its predecessor? Does it have more and better tech? Is Ford offering more powerful engines with enhanced fuel economy? My name is Brian Cooper, and today I'm going to compare the specs and features of this 2020 Explorer Limited to the red 2017 Explorer Sport, both currently available at the Ken Wilson Ford Pre-Owned Center in Western North Carolina. For a more detailed review on the 2020 Ford Explorer, please check out my other video, which I'll put a link of in the description below. So right out of the gate, we definitely have to talk about the fact that the 2020 Ford Explorer is a completely brand new model. There are no shared parts. This is not a facelift iteration. There's almost nothing, as far as I know, that is shared at all, minus maybe some nuts and bolts and hardware with the previous 5th gen model. Now this red one that we have here again is a 2017. This is the Sport model with the EcoBoost 3.5 liter. And here we have a pre-owned 2020 Explorer Limited. This one doesn't have every single feature that's available on the Limited. Again, if you look at my in-depth review of these videos, you can see kind of a hands-on on all of the features. But if we just kind of walk around, the biggest difference you can see right out of the gate is just how much differently the styling is. Now what is interesting is they did carry over some design traits, such as the you can see the C-pillar back here still has the same kind of angle and rake as the new one. And then if we kind of check out the back end, here's the tail lights and hatch area. We can definitely see there are some design cues from the way the tail lights are shaped, the fact that they're all kind of one piece, and even the shape of the Explorer logo around where the license plate goes is very similar to the design language on the previous body. Now the previous Explorers were actually based on a car chassis. They shared a lot of the platform as the Ford Taurus, both in the front wheel drive and the all-wheel drive configurations, but that kind of gave this a little bit more of a car-like driving characteristics, where it was a little lower to the ground compared to some other SUVs that are out there. And you can see now with the new 2020, we actually have a little bit more ground clearance both underneath the center of the car. You can definitely see there's a big difference on the front bumpers. I believe there is an actual like 4 inches of clearance difference on the front bumper between the two. Now again, going back to the older Explorer, you can see we've got a little bit more of a boxier styling. Kind of looks somewhat like it shares some design cues from the Ford Expedition. You can see we've got the revised headlights on this 2017. They didn't really make any major differences during the 8-year run of this model, mostly just some exterior revisions. Now with the Sport model, we're going to have stuff like the Sport wheels. We're going to have the black trim, the black badges, black handles, extra things such as that come with the Sport model. Whereas if you kind of compare that to the Limited, the Limited is going to have a little bit more of the luxury styling with the polished look on the wheels, the grille, the lower trim, the rear trim, how the exhaust is built into the bumper. You can see it's got the cutouts there as well. But I think that this new 2020 Explorer actually has extremely good styling. I like the fact that it actually looks a little bit longer. What's crazy is, and I'll go over the dimensions here in a little bit, but overall dimensions from front to rear, there's really not a huge difference between the two. You can actually see the biggest difference is actually between the front wheels there. And back over here, you have a longer wheelbase on the newer one than you actually do with the previous model. So that kind of changes the body lines of the car. We now have these really aggressive lines here that follow all the way from the front bumper all the way where they meet with the rear taillights. We've got much larger flared wheel arches. Previously we just had kind of flatter edged wheel arches over here. We obviously have a huge difference on the front end. The grille has gotten much larger than the previous models. And then kind of the design on how the fog lights is integrated. It's still a separate design. You can see it's separate from the headlight there. You can see it's a little bit better built into the bumper on the new model here. The overall exterior dimensions of the Explorer stays the same while still extending the wheelbase over 6 inches, which increases interior legroom for the second and third row. while also providing a more comfortable ride. Thanks to a shorter front and rear overhang, approach and departure angles have been improved from 15.6 degrees in the front and 20.9 degrees in the rear to 21 degrees and 22.3 degrees respectively. This improves off-road handling in addition to the now 8 inches of ground clearance. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the interior differences between the two. So first we're going to start with the 2017. Now this is an interior I have talked about in previous videos of mine, and I am actually a fan of this. There's definitely some design cues that come from the Taurus, which this shared a lot of parts with, as well as even the Fusions and the other even the Focus at the time. You know, that's to be expected when you have different generations of things. But when you're actually in here, you definitely have a little bit more of a car-like interior. Now you sit up a little bit higher, but I do like how well everything kind of integrates. I mean, all these new cars have huge dashboards now, and I like how this is actually really well integrated into the doors. And it also includes kind of this nice, you know, curvy A-pillar where that meets with the windshield. It just feels like everything is connected. I don't feel like there's anything that's in here. I mean, yeah, there's some plastic and stuff, but I don't feel like there's anything, you know, that's gonna feel dated in a few years. In this generation, where they had the facelift, they went away from having the kind of capacitive touch buttons here and went with regular physical buttons, which you can control everything you need to from here. And then you also have the screen that you could access some additional features. But what's nice is you can do everything from here, including all of your controls for your seats and your AC. Now moving over to the 2020 model, and you can see there is a huge difference in the overall styling of these two. And of course, again, that's to be expected. We've got a new generation, you know, new design language, things like that. But as we see here, this has a totally different kind of design language than the previous model. Gone are the kind of super curvy angles of the previous model. And you can see now we have a lot more modern looking kind of angular designs where we've got a little bit more of a flat dashboard here. It doesn't as well integrate into the doors as it previously did. You can kind of see some of the lines are similar as far as, you know, where the grab handles are and things like that. Now, I do actually like the interior of this one also, for different reasons though. You know, clearly this is a newer car. It has a lot more modern features and modern looks to it. There's definitely, you know, still a lot of plastic around. There's some plastic here, there's some plastic here, but we do have some actual wood trim. This is, from what I understand, real wood that's up here on the dashboard. That's a nice feature. Now this, there are 2 screen options available for this. This one does not have the larger tablet style screen. It has the more standard 8-inch screen here. But if we look here at the center, you can see we've kind of inverted how things work from the previous design, where here we actually have manual gauges on the left and right with a digital in the center. Now again, if you go with the fully option limited, they actually replace all of that with a complete screen. And again, you can see more of that in my in-depth review of the brand new limited. As we move back to the 2017 and kind of look at these second and third row options, the previous models were pretty much with 2 options. You had the captain's chair option like we have in the sport model, or you could have a full bench across the sides. Obviously the main difference is with the captain's chairs, you get this really nice center console with tons of storage. This pocket is very similar to what you would actually get in the Ford F-150 as far as its design and honestly how huge that pocket is. You can see even when it's open, you can even set something here, like say you wanted to open this up and eat off of it. You could put, you know, like a hamburger there, kind of use it like a little tray. So that's pretty smart. I guess we should put this back in here. But as you can see here, coming from the first row, here's where we have some additional power ports as well as AC controls back here. And if we look back into the third row, which is currently folded, you can see it doesn't even feel like it's got a third row unless you actually put the seats up. Here we are in the third row. Now with the previous generation, there were options to have the power folding seats, or you could have the manual operated seats. Usually in the later years, most people opted in for the power seats, but you can see there's just a one-touch operation that'll actually move that third row into a regular bench for 2 seats back there. And as we can kind of see, we've got, you know, pockets and cup holders and things, which again are to be expected. And as far as the vents for the third row, and honestly for the rest of the rows, you can see right up here on the top, we've got the ceiling mounted air vents, which can be opened and closed and pointed around. So that's a really nice thing. So that way you've got, you know, vents coming from all different angles for the passengers. Now, as we compare that to the 2020 model, you can see it's a little bit different. Now, this one does have the captain's chairs, which you can kind of get this configured a couple different ways, but they have, in this instance, decided to remove the full complete center console and actually replace it for this bottom tray here. And it's kind of an interesting take on things. Obviously, you lose the storage of what you had before. Now, you do gain some up here. But if we actually look, what they've kind of decided to do here is to kind of give you a space to kind of prop up a tablet. So if you've got, you know, young kids in the back third row, rather than having screens and things like that, which are always out of date a year or two after the vehicles come out, you can take an iPad or a Samsung tablet or anything, even like a laptop or something like that, and prop it up here so that people in the third row can watch that. So kind of an interesting thing. That's kind of what they decided to do there. And then you can see we've got a little bit of a different design on the leather. We still have our controls here. Now, the big difference here is you can see we have a lot more options back here. So we do have a second row heated seat option, which are accessed from here, as well as a little bit more updated dials here to kind of adjust your different settings for the rear AC. And you can see we've now added USB-C here, as well as USB-A and your regular house style plug, if you will. And then kind of looking back here into the third row, it looks very similar to the third row in the previous Explorer, because you still have very similar cup holders and pockets, which are to be expected back there. Now, as we check out the seat controls back here, you're going to see it's very similar to what they've done with the previous Explorers, except for they have moved the buttons over here. So you can actually still have kind of a one-touch design where you can move them both flat. You don't have the crazy flippy motion going on here, but you do kind of have this additional storage back here where it can be flat if you want it to, or you have this additional kind of storage tray where you can put stuff underneath of here. So that's kind of a nice little feature here. Additional options in the interior of the 2020 Ford Explorer is available massaging front seats, an available vertical 12.3-inch tablet style screen versus the 8-inch screen, which is standard in this model, second row console or storage tray so you can prop up a tablet. Some of the Limiteds have a second row window shade option. There is authentic wood trim on the dashboard and an available twin panel moonroof. Additionally, there is improved entry into the third row in the 2020 models. Looking at the interior dimensions, interior space for passengers also remains remarkably similar to the prior generations, while it should be noted that the headroom for the first and second row has been reduced. In the third row, one of my favorite features of modern Explorers, Ford has slightly decreased the legroom, traded for nearly 4 more inches of shoulder room and 1 inch of headroom. Thankfully, the 2020 Explorer comes with more hip room all around. Although the new SUV isn't wider than the old model, the redesigned interior adds a few inches for all 3 rows. But what about cargo room? Fortunately, the Explorer features a notably larger trunk. There is a catch though. You will get more room behind the second and front row seats. The small trunk behind the third row seats, however, offers a bit less room than the old model. Specifically, cargo room is down from 21 to 18.2 cubic feet. For some reason, the Explorer lost almost 2 cubic feet here. But Fold will remove the third row seats, and the Explorer can now swallow up a whopping 47.9 cubic feet of luggage, up from 43.9 in the previous SUV. Load the SUV up to the front row seat backs and you'll get 87.8 cubic feet of room, a 6.1 cubic foot increase over the old model. Looking at technology, in the 2017 model, the Explorer is available with a SYNC 3 screen and other popular features such as a hands-free foot-activated liftgate, heated steering wheel, inflatable first and second row safety belts, as well as LED fog lamps, front and rear cameras, with both having wide-angle lenses which come equipped with a washer. In the 2017, you also have enhanced park assist, which uses ultrasonic sensors and electric power-assisted steering to help drivers with parallel and perpendicular parking. It includes park out assist to help drivers pull out of parallel parking spots. The system controls the steering wheel while the driver operates the accelerator and brake pedals and shifts the vehicle into gear. The 5th Gen Explorer is a well-equipped SUV even in standard trim. While a new generation car may look worse or better or offer less or more passenger room compared to its predecessor, it will always feature better technology. The 5th generation Explorer is a well-equipped SUV even in standard trim. Standard features include a rear-view camera with a washer, AM, FM, and MP3 with 6 speakers, media hub with USB ports everywhere, and the Sync 3 infotainment screen. You also have the advanced track with roll stability and the SOS post-crash alert system also standard. The more expensive limited model have added forward sensing system, intelligent access with push-button start, remote start, a reverse sensing system, Sync 3, garage door opener, and front view camera. The Limited also came with a 12-speaker Sony audio system, Ford Pass Connect, Sirius XM satellite, voice-activated navigation, a Wi-Fi hotspot, and perimeter alarm. The range-topping Platinum model came with extras like adaptive cruise control with collision warning, and a premium Sony audio system with clear phase and live acoustics. With these two Explorers specifically, both have keyless remote start as well as a power liftgate. Drivetrain and performance. Previously, the Explorer had 3 engine options: a 2.3-liter EcoBoost 4-cylinder, a 3.5-liter V6, and a 3.5-liter EcoBoost twin-turbo option, as seen here on the Sport model. That 3.5-liter EcoBoost gave the Explorer its best numbers at 365 horsepower and 350 foot-pounds of torque, but was only available in the all-wheel drive trim. The base model Explorer came standard with a front-wheel drive configuration. Much like the original Explorers of 1990, the 2020 Explorer now has a rear-wheel drive architecture, which is both sportier as well as offers an increased towing capacity. The new Explorer still boasts 4 engine options, with the base engine being a 300 horsepower, 300 foot-pound of torque, 2.3-liter EcoBoost, which is pulled directly from the Mustang, a 3-liter EcoBoost V6 with 365 horsepower and 310 foot-pounds of torque, or a whopping 400 horsepower and 450 foot-pounds of torque in the all-new Explorer ST. For the first time in history, Ford is now offering a 3.3-liter hybrid option with a combined EPA rating of 28 miles to the gallon. This option, however, will only be available on the Limited trim. All engine options mate to Ford's new 10-speed automatic, which makes for smooth or sporty driving characteristics depending on how much you dip into the accelerator. Towing. The towing capacity is up by a significant margin thanks to the new engines and updated four-wheel drive system. While the previous Explorer with the 2.3-liter EcoBoost was able to pull 3,000 pounds, with the new version equipped with the trailer tow package, it can now tow up to 5,300 pounds. That is a massive upgrade compared to the old 2.3-liter SUV, but is also an improvement over the old V6 models, which is only rated at 5,000 pounds. The new V6 Explorer tows up to 5,600 pounds, which is a 12% improvement over the previous range-topping model.
All right, so that wraps it up with a comparison looking at the 2017 Ford Explorer compared to the 2020 all-new Ford Explorer. Tell me what you thought. Did I miss anything big? I'm sure you'll let me know in the comment section. Me personally, I've said in other videos, I have always been a fan of the previous generation Explorer, and honestly with the new body Explorer, it was one of the very first review videos that I personally made when working here at the dealership, and I think they're both pretty great. I think especially as far as how much room you get on the inside of both, I think the Explorer gives you a lot more room in this same exact class. I really like the styling. I think the styling both looks good on the previous generation and on this one. I'm obviously kind of a car enthusiast, so I love having the idea of the Explorer Sport with the added performance. And then now we have the Explorer ST, which has that 400 horsepower twin turbo EcoBoost engine. And I've driven it and it's pretty insane. And you've got all kinds of features that come along with that for performance stuff like tires and better suspension, things like that. So I like that you've got a ton of options. You know, with the towing now being in a rear-wheel drive configuration, that makes a nice added bonus for the new ones. Now, if you had to ask me which one I had to choose between the two, that's honestly an impossible decision. You know, really that's going to come down to you or whoever's going to be buying these, because now that we're in a new body style, that obviously means that the older previous generation is going to be much more affordable. But at the same time, when you've got all the tech and safety features that comes in with the new Explorer, is it worth just going ahead and upgrading? Not to mention, you've got the new 10-speed automatic transmission. It's just all kinds of stuff going on with these new ones. So I think it's actually worth it. I think it's great if you can find a really nice 5th generation, anywhere from like the 13 to 19 range. I would say you're gonna find one of those and get a deal. Or honestly, keep an eye out for a 2020 Explorer much like this one. I mean, this one does have the 4-cylinder engine. It does have, I think, what do we say, about 5,000 miles on it or something like that. But you can pick this one up with the limited, with all the features, for right about $45,000, $46,000. That's a pretty good deal as well, comparing that to a brand new, fresh off the lot 2020 Explorer. So tell me what you think. Thanks so much for watching, and have a great day.